As soon as we go live, I get a text message from someone in my family. Okay, I'm just going to put on recording mode here. Get to the sauna.
Now it's time for the panel. Tune it in, don't you change the channel. It's the panel, it's the vibe. Justin and Brian keeping it alive.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the panel, where two bootstrappers talk about building a better business and a better life. I'm Justin Jackson, co-founder of Transistor.fm.
And I'm Brian Castle, founder of Builder Methods.
And I'm going to be heavy on the mute button today. I was sick with the flu. I got that flu that everybody had. It was the worst 4 or 5 days of my life. Just felt exhausted, just watched a ton of television on the couch, couldn't work, couldn't do anything. Yeah. And then I was feeling good by Friday of last week. Sunday, I woke up early in my bed and I got a snow report for Revelstoke that it had snowed 20 centimeters. And I thought I could just drive there and go. And so I snuck out of the house, messaged a buddy as I'm driving out to Revelstoke. I had to get gas first. And I'm like, hey, bud, if you get this within the next 5 minutes, come with me to Revelstoke. And he's like, okay. So we both went and just had an incredible time. It's been a bad snow year here, but we hiked the peak. Look at this picture here.
Oh, awesome. Oh, you hiked up there, huh?
Hiked up. I mean, I think that's what ultimately made me sick again, is I just overexerted myself.
That's serious to get up there, right?
Too much. Yeah. And the cool part is you end up dropping in right in this ridge here. So we had a bunch of turns.
That's a no-go for me.
A bunch of first tracks on this, which was super fun.
I bet.
But yeah, after that trip, the next day on Monday, I was just exhausted. Could not, my old 46-year-old body was feeling it. And then I think...
Isn't it great to have that? First of all, I'm always so jealous of you and any friends, especially who live out west, who are closer to these amazing mountains. For me to get to anywhere decent in the east, which is still nothing compared to out west, it's a good 3 or 4 hours to get to a decent hill.
Yeah.
But isn't it nice, doing what we do, have the flexibility, especially to go to these places on weekdays.
Mm-hmm.
Me and the kids, and I think they have Monday off, but I think we might take them out on Tuesday to go up to Vermont next week. So get some days.
You got to do it.
Yeah.
I read an interesting post. I mean, we're going to talk about this kind of viral Matt Shumer post. I'm sure folks saw it. It's called "Something Big is Happening Here." And, I saw all sorts of kind of reflections and responses to it. It got 75 million views on Twitter.
Damn, I didn't realize it was that much.
Yeah. I didn't even see it on Twitter. Someone posted it to Slack it was a blog post.
Yeah, I've just seen multiple people I know retweeting it, and I read it. I was a really good read. Let's get into it. I mean, I thought that.
Yeah.
Let's just talk about the original piece first. I think
Sure.
there was a response piece, but a lot of it rang true. For those who haven't read it, what's the gist? What's the 2-sentence gist of this thing? It's basically hey, I work in tech, in software. We are seeing AI completely change our everything about our industry and our craft and what we do as knowledge workers, and it's not theoretical for us in software. AI has already changed everything, right?
Yeah.
And it's only going faster. We know that here in our little tech bubble. And what he wrote here is sort of a letter to the outside world, to the rest of the world. And I actually loved how he framed it at the very beginning. He talked about the very beginning of COVID. And I remember this. I'm sure we all remember this, right? It was the first days of March in 2020. And you're hearing the reports come out of China. You're hearing about, okay, this COVID thing, it seems kind of serious. Like, okay, it's overblown. Like, what, you're talking about a flu? Like, how bad could it be, right?
Yeah.
And there's that general thing, and then all of a sudden, it was like, boom, like the world is shutting down. they canceled the NBA season. You know, they're shutting down like everything. It's just crazy, you know.
Yeah.
And he was like equating that feeling in 2020 to this right now feels like that moment, the moment where the rest of the world is like, this seems overblown, but they're about to have a rude awakening. That's his general point, I think.
Yeah. I think that's why it resonated. I think a lot of folks, and let's be honest, like there's still tons of folks, even inside of tech, that haven't yet had this realization. But there was certainly a big number of us. I'm not on Twitter every day. I try to read it maybe once a week and just catch up, but I don't post there anymore. I'm not like in the fire hose of, the AI tweet thread boy. I get things disseminated.
But even if that's true, like even if you are not like, maybe it hasn't really had a huge impact for you personally in your craft. I mean, you, Justin, or anyone else listening who's like, they're not using AI or Claude Code or whatever, like as much as everyone else says that they are. But if you work in this industry, you still can't deny that, like, just look around. Like every engineer is using Claude Code. Like very few professionals are actually handwriting stuff anymore. Like the velocity is changed. The tooling is going incredibly fast. Like, and then of course you read the news and you see like the layoffs, the hiring numbers are changing. Like even if it hasn't affected you personally, it's clear to see this is where it's going.
Although I still think we need to be clear that most software developers in the world still aren't using Claude Code. I'm pretty sure. Like so many of my friends who are in the enterprise are just like, man, we want to use these tools, or they're curious about the tools, and they're like, we're not allowed. So I think there's still
there's Copilot and stuff that's popular.
Yeah, there's still a big group that hasn't really had this realization yet. And he alludes to this in the article. He's like, listen, first of all, if you're a programmer and you still have not like gone in and just said, let's see what this can do. Like if you didn't have that Thanksgiving holiday or Christmas holiday moment where you're like, I'm going to sit down and see what this can actually do yet, you've got to go and have that moment. You've got to, and with a significant model like Claude Code Opus 4.5 or 4.6.
That was another good point, is that like there's a lot of people who are just dabbling with the free models, and if you're using the free models, you're literally using models that were like from a year ago, and so much has changed in the last 12 months with the frontier models. And I think this is the realization most of us had, which was, some people tried AI and it wasn't that good, but now when you try one of these new models, even just like the other day, so I demoed that prototype I've been building for a video podcasting hosting application. And just as an experiment, I was like, I needed to get some Google API credentials. I needed a website. I needed branding. I needed terms of service and a privacy policy. And literally with one prompt, I said, hey, I want you to go over to this other app directory where I've been writing this application. And based on what you see there, I want you to generate a marketing website that includes terms of service, a privacy policy. Thank you. I did that. Please and thank you.
And what it produced, I could show you on screen. What it produced, sure, maybe I'd want to... You
might want to tweak a few things, but this is a serviceable website. Like, there's no question about it, It even more than it's better than that.
It's better than that. It knows that I'm in beta. It knows what my sign-in link is. It knows how it works. It knows that I support YouTube, Transistors API, Spotify, and other podcast apps. It knows it's everything you need to publish video podcasts. It's clear. It this is a good first draft. And then the privacy terms knows that I use YouTube's Auth 2.0 tokens for video uploads. It knows that I use Transistor's API keys for podcast. It knows that I'm going to use Spotify API credentials. It generated all of this, and it knows what the user is going to be doing. So here's all of the terms of service and privacy policy implications. This was truly one shot.
Yeah.
And if I was going to
incredible.
do this before, like I've done this, I've built the initial version of the marketing site. And again, if I was going to launch this, I'd want to stand out. So I can't have like, this has got the traditional purple that always shows
got the
up.
indigo thing.
Yeah.
It's got the rounded corners with the shadow. Like it's definitely got the vibe coded like hallmarks, but still the outside, like to the outside world, this is a clean, modern website. And like you said, like it got all the details right.
It
Like,
got all the details right. And even like these screenshots that it produced, like these kind of clean, like, yeah, here's what we want to present to folks. It's like, it's a 80% off the bat.
That's the thing, man. And I mean, I wrote about this in the newsletter last week. It was like, it's things like this, like you can have AI, Claude Code, any of these like get you 80, 90% of the way there. The really interesting thing, and I heard this originally on a Wall Street Journal podcast where they were talking about like the rise and breakout of Claude Code like a year later. And they were and they did this like interactive piece on the site using Claude Code, and they were like, we together got this piece built 80, and we are like non-technical journalists, 80% of the way there. And that last 20% was the essential part. Like we the human in the loop.
Yeah.
Like we had to craft the prompt and the direction and the goal of the project. Like that's important up front. Then that big messy middle is handled by AI. And then, and then the very end is the part that like clinches it, the 10, 20% to dial in the details, to get it right, to make the necessary changes or refinements. And it's like, without that last 10, 20%, the whole thing doesn't work. Like you can't publish it. Right.
Yeah.
But still, like at the end of the day, like this whole project, like what they were talking about was like that project took 2 days, and a year ago, that project would have taken like 6 months.
Oh yeah. I mean, yes, in terms of all of this. And even like, so the first version of terms of service I've used in the past, I used to use a service called termsfeed.com. The scrappy startups that need terms would go to a website and pay. We paid, I think, a couple $100 for terms feed. We have also used Ayubenda in the past to generate privacy policies for us. And then, now we have lawyers that look over these things and they always have opinions. The just to get terms of service used to be a big lift. And now your initial version is actually pretty good. Usable. And that's the way it was before, by the way. This hasn't changed. Terms feed and Ayubenda, these were like pretty good boilerplate legal terms. And I think, here's another thing I'll share. I've wanted to, John O'Nolan from Ghost said, Justin, your RSS feed on your website sucks. And so I the other day, just rebuilt it completely. Here's my RSS feed. It's a full content RSS feed. Before I just had the title and the link, and he's like, that's not good. He's building an RSS reader, so he wants the whole thing. And so I also styled it with XSLT, which is going away, which we can talk about if we want. But this project, I've been procrastinating on it because I'm like, I know I could do it on my own, but I just knew it would take me forever. This was, I don't know, 5-10 minutes of prompting, and then it's done. It also, like, upgrading static versions used to be a big deal. You have to upgrade your version of Laravel and PHP, and I'd forget to update PHP on the server, and then everything would break, and then I'd have to bug, one of my friends. Yeah. Now, I just went through all of that yesterday. What used to take me a day to update static, I did again in 20, 30 minutes with Claude Code.
We can get back to that article in a second, because I do think there's some open questions about it. But like,
Yeah.
speaking of like these projects, I still see this night and day dynamic between, okay, so like this past week, since the last time we recorded, I built basically 2 finished new apps in the last 7 days.
Yeah.
And a third one is like halfway. And those are like tools that I'm using in my, I'm calling it like my brain system with my OpenClaw team of agents. We can get more into that. Like one is like a tracker dashboard with like, you know, a task tracking thing. The other is like a markdown voice capture and note taker and reader of markdown files, and it syncs to a Dropbox folder, so I can like sync my files with my agents. That I'm calling that one Brain Down.
Yeah.
So these are both mostly built. I did each of those in about a day each. Used Design OS and built it out, and they hook into OpenClaw and all this stuff.
Yeah.
But compare that to what I also did this past week was I did a little, like a mini redesign of Builder Methods. Not redesign, but like the video library for Builder Methods Pro has really been growing.
Yeah, I noticed this.
And my Claude Code course is now like halfway out. Like half of the lessons are now dropped. And members have been having a hard time like navigating to literally find the course lessons like in the library, because I've only had like this one big feed of videos.
Mm-hmm.
And so I needed to build a way to like categorize the videos into what I'm calling series. So like one series is the Build with Claude Code course. Another series is Builder Stories. That's where I interview other builders and they show how they build. I've got these project ride-alongs. And so now what you see there, what you're showing is like these 3, you know, nice call outs at the top with some custom brand illustrations and
but by the way, those custom illustrations with your custom Claude skill, came in clutch here. Those look great.
Yeah, for sure. And then the area below that where it's like listing and filtering out all the videos, and you've got like some filter controls on the top, like like I had that stuff in place from before, but I had to like reconfigure the layout of how it all fits now. So this project also took me like a full day, and this is really just a reworking of like one page on the site. And I was hoping it would not take me that long. Like you would think that like something this simple should only take like 30 minutes, an hour, maybe, given our speed. So it's interesting, this dynamic between like I can build entire new apps in a day. But why does this site take me an hour just to change one thing? And the reason is buildermethods.com was started in early 2025.
You think that's why?
I definitely think that's why, because there are lots of, especially like the way that I organized UI components and Tailwind CSS and Rails components, and like it doesn't use React or Inertia. It's all like Rails, Turbo, Hotwire, my custom components that I designed and created, and so like a lot of those UI components on that page are reused across all of Builder Methods. So like you can't just have AI like tweak one thing and have it blow up all these other pages. Like everything is interconnected in a way that I would have known how to maintain very easily like a year ago by hand. So like it's this dynamic. I see it again and again where it's like what they call brownfield development or legacy code. Like, that stuff is really hard to introduce agents into the mix. Like I did have agents build most of that project, but it still required a lot of like, even at the end, I ended up going in and hand coding a bit of the CSS to make sure it's shippable, you know?
See what I thought you were going to say, and this is still an open question for me, is I think a lot of people can identify with that feeling of like, man, like that first big build, that big scaffold, like building an app in like with a few prompts, that part seems to be consistently pretty good, especially if you kind of architect it and think through what you're building before you start prompting. But even with features like apps that have been built in the last couple weeks, it does seem like people are having this experience of once it's built, the models do get worse at modifying and updating. Is that something you're finding is true?
I do find that the code bases that I started recently, like the ones I did this week that only took me a day to build and ship, like I am still iterating on them. And it is much easier for me to just iterate straight through Claude Code with those. There's part of it is like an element of like, well, I didn't hand code it in the first place, so I'm not precious about how things are coded under the hood. There's some code in there that I haven't personally reviewed, but I did test it and I architected the plan around it and everything. So I sort of trusted in that sense. But yeah, I have been able to iterate and really change pretty big parts of business logic as I learned about different integration points.
So like, you think a lot of this is about like, because my worry is that my original code that I hand coded is so intertwined in a way that I used to design and architect apps myself, and that is not the way necessarily that like I would do it. Like today, I generally use React and like Rails, Inertia, React, and I don't hand code from day one. See, this is making me wonder. Like, it's making me wonder.
Like for older sites, there's like an extra layer and an extra time piece of like, it's not just prompting, and it's not just writing a spec for what you want built. You also have to layer in like, hey, and let me explain to you the components and the business logic that already exists from years ago or from months ago that this needs to reuse. That takes extra time to work into the spec, you know?
See, here's one thing I have in my head is on one hand, I'm seeing that established players, and I'm thinking of my own business in this context, have such an advantage right now in that like we were talking about with Lars Lofgren, they're this defined entity across the web. And so if you ask an LLM, what's the best podcast hosting platform, 9 times out of 10, Transistor's going to be on one of those lists. And that's great. You know, that I like that. On the other hand, I'm feeling, and again, maybe this would be absolutely a bad idea, but that thing I brought up last time about FreshBooks building this totally new company when they wanted to release a new version. So they built a totally new company, totally new code base. And it had a lot of that feel that we're talking about right now, which is we can go so much faster if we're not held down by the legacy stuff. And if we can test this independent of all of our users and everything else, like that's such a big risk. And so let's just like build this out. And they built a totally different company, totally different product that competed with FreshBooks. And the moment they knew that they needed to switch to this new version was when existing FreshBooks users started canceling and saying, I'm switching to that other product.
Yeah.
And
I mean, 37 Signals has been doing a version of that for a long time.
Yeah, and 37 Signals has a version of this too.
I've always liked that. I never knew if that would be something I would want to adopt in my own products, but I always liked it in theory of being able to have a version, like if I was working on a SaaS business like Transistor, or like if Clarity Flow were my full-time focus on everything, and it was like a super growing thing that, like, yeah, there's probably a lot of like legacy product decisions that I would have liked to do differently. That I would probably consider just doing a totally new version, and then there would be like Clarity Flow Classic and Clarity Flow New.
Yeah,
you know,
and I mean, there is part of me that's like maybe I just need to like John and I create a whole new company, and I just go over and just like run with scissors and like build this thing out. And maybe it's not podcast hosting, maybe it's a sponsorship platform or something, but having that experience of like, let's just run with scissors over here and see how fragile and like just see what that's like, you know?
I think that would be a really interesting exercise for you guys as a company, because it's like, Yeah, because I think, first of all, it could just be productive as like, hey, maybe this isn't a new business line, like a sponsor platform or a video platform or something. Like, so that could be a second product from your team. That could be interesting from a business standpoint. But I think it would also be interesting because your experience, you and your team's experience of designing it, building it, shipping it will be so different from how it was with Transistor that maybe you can take those learnings and start to see how things might change on the Transistor code base and process. Right.
It's so it
would still have its legacy stuff, but like I think right now, I'm not inside your company, so I don't know, but like right now, it's probably hard for people to adopt and change like the way that we've always done it, right?
Yeah.
Even if you know that the tools are there. But if you do have that fresh experience, then there at least should be some takeaways that can increase some efficiencies over on the Transistor side too.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. It does have the risk of shiny object syndrome and of like
screw shiny objects.
But
do
also
the shiny
just,
objects. Come on.
And just also spreading yourself too thin. There is, and even from a branding perspective, one of the risks that Lars brought up though is that this whole entity, like having a wide footprint on the web, it also connects to founders. He's saying like founders that like to start a bunch of things are going to have a harder time with this kind of organic distribution because AI really likes simple relationships. Like Justin is the co-founder of Transistor.fm. If you get too many of those things in there, you lose out on, I mean, this has always kind of been the case. Brennan Dunn used to say, you know, you want to be known as the guy who does X, right?
I get that. But I do think that there's a difference between shiny object syndrome and spreading too thin in terms of like too many different businesses and products compared to one company launching a second and maybe a third related product that they can sell to basically the same audience. I mean, like to me, a Transistor launching a video podcasting platform or a podcast sponsoring platform, like that just makes sense. You know? And I also really believe this part that like it would be less effective to launch those as features in Transistor. Yeah. Because you are so well established as Transistor.fm is for podcast hosting. Yeah. And if I'm thinking like, where do I manage, where can I get access to a sponsorship platform? Yeah. Like I'm not associating Transistor.fm with that question. You know? Yeah. It's an interesting idea. The one thing I like about it that the FreshBooks story reflects is the way Mike McDermott thought about it. And I mean, think about how much bigger of a risk this was back then. Because this happened in the 2000, I think, I can't remember exactly, but I think it was like 2005 or something like that. In some ways you are downplaying the risks because it's like, well, if we introduce all these new features and this new platform and this new architecture and people don't like it, like we have a couple hundred customers and we have to shut it down and we just say, well, just migrate back to FreshBooks, migrate to our competitor, FreshBooks Classic. Like there is something nice about if this is truly, if it truly works, like it's as fast as we think, as robust as we think, which I'm worried about the fragility of these apps going forward still. I'm worried about. Yeah, but like that would be more like, app that you code, but you have John on the team, you got your technical team. Like it would be really interesting, I think, for you all to work together on a new app. Yeah, I'm gonna be cheerleading the idea of Transistor becoming a multi-product company. I'm all for that. But I do think that like having a technical team behind it like means you can use these tools, these AI tools, to a more serious degree than like you just prototyping stuff, Yeah. All right, let's get back to this article because now we've got people in chat. I think a lot of people, one thing that resonated about this article
is it did have this kind of timeliness to it. Like, basically, like, wake up, this is happening. If you don't acknowledge that this is happening, you're going to get left behind. And there was also some kind of sober warnings in here, like, get your financial house in order.
Yeah, like, how much do you buy into that part of it? Like the warning to the non-technical world.
Yeah.
I think some of the examples are different. Like, some are probably more true than others, or ring true to me than others. But
let's work through them one at a time. First, start using AI seriously, not just as a search engine.
Well, wait. I mean, those are sort of like his recommendations. But before that, like, I think the real question that's interesting is, like, I'm still sort of amazed, but I sort of get it, that, like, I feel like AI has completely changed our industry, as we've been talking about for this whole episode. But the rest of the people in my life, the normies in my life, are barely even touching it. And like, I ask my family all the time. Amy works in the school district. My kids go to school. I'm like, who in the schools are using AI? Are the teachers using it? Do the kids use it? The answer is no. Like, nobody uses it.
Okay,
a little, and sometimes they'll say, like, well, I Google for things, and now Google shows me AI stuff. So there's that.
I mean, schools will be the last. School divisions will be.
Like,
they're still sending PDF newsletters. That's like, it's like,
exactly.
They send an email that's like, hey, everybody, check out the newsletter attached. And then you're like, oh my God,
this link to
some
go to this
multi-column, 3-column PDF document that I have to, like, scan through and figure out what's important.
Not to mention they're sending me stuff about the high school, and my kids are in 4th and 6th grade. But
yeah, I mean, I can tell you who is feeling it is when I talk to my kids in high school and college, what the danger for them is more uncertainty. And in some ways, I think they're feeling that uncertainty can,
like, the job prospects.
Yeah, it can lead to a sense of malaise or hopelessness, because it's not clear to them what this is going to mean. They've heard that the entry-level job market is getting decimated, and that's true.
I mean, that part rings true to me. I think that to me is, like, the scariest segment of the economy, I would say, at this point, is like young people entering their careers at this time. Like, I just don't know what I would suggest other than
I mean,
get comfortable with these tools. But, like,
it gives you a sense of helplessness, but even also maybe worse, maybe the bigger risk is a lost sense of purpose, because a lot of us went to college for things that we didn't end up pursuing as a career, but there was still this promise of an economy that we could get into that kind of pushed us to go to college. So, we went and it was like, I'm going to study music, or I'm going to study English literature. And in the back of our minds, we're like, maybe this isn't the thing we're going to do as a career, but we had this feeling like a diploma or a degree is at least going to help us get our foot in the door.
Yeah. But I kind of stopped believing in that even before AI came along.
Well, and that advantage is gradually eroded, but it still leads to a problem of purpose and motivation. Because now a kid is looking, in high school is looking at, they're looking at their own classes and they're going, what's the point of all this?
Yeah.
And then they're looking at college and they're like, what's the point? Like, I'm going to spend, in the States, it's like, I'm going to spend $100,000 for a college education and it's not going to lead anywhere. And the thing is that what I do worry about, and this is something that Ben Borowski, Marie Poulin's partner, talked about on LinkedIn, is I do worry about the loss of human motivation and connection. And if you think about that kid that's going to graduate and not going to go to college, sure, college might now be a bad play for your career, but kids need purpose. They need a sense of, like, connecting with humans. And
I mean, I agree with you that all of that is a huge concern, but the question that this article is raising is like, or the warning that it's raising is that, hey, the economy is about to explode. Everyone needs to wake up. And I actually don't fully buy that. I think it's just going to take a lot longer for AI to spider its way through the rest of the economy. I think it's definitely already here, and it's going to keep getting deeper into the tech industry for sure.
Yeah.
But we are the crest of this wave, and I think this wave is going to take a lot longer to crash over the rest of the economy. I mean, and part of me is even questioning that, like my own read of that, right? Because it's like my gut is saying like it's just going to take all these other industries and all these other businesses so long, even if they know that there are advantages to adopting AI, they just can't because they're slow to move.
Yeah.
Right. And people are just slow to adopt and adapt.
And there's also the idea that the way he sets up the structure of the article is to say, listen, this is happening in software development. And it happened in software development first because AI companies need to write a lot of code. So they created agents that help them write more code. And then he goes, okay, what this means for your job. And it's like legal work, financial analysis, writing. And he goes into these other categories, but I don't think it's still unclear to me as well if the impact it's had on code is going to go to those other categories.
Like, I do think it is going to go to those other categories. I just think it might be more like 5 or 10 years, not like 1 or 2.
Yeah. And I'm still like, code, it's just AI works particularly good for code because writing code is really about kind of established good patterns, established good architecture. Even like you think about the reason it kind of killed Tailwind Plus and Tailwind Components is because once an LLM has sucked up all the good UI patterns, it's just pretty easy to regurgitate those. They're pretty set, they're very rules based. Like,
yeah, I mean, it's like, this is where I'm like, I question my own read on this prediction because it's like, on one hand, I really, really believe that these things are going to keep getting insanely better, and they're going to keep getting better even at faster rates, and it's already insanely fast. Because like whatever we are seeing and using here in the tech industry now, there is still so much friction to what we do.
Yeah.
I mean, even just the fact that we open up command line interfaces to interact with this stuff, like no normie is going to do that.
Yeah.
So like even just the harnesses and the frameworks and the scaffolding and the methodologies, all of that stuff is definitely going to melt away. And that stuff, and the melting away of that will happen fast, right? Like I firmly believe that by the end of 2026, what we now see as like the frontier models are going to feel ancient within 12 months. Like it's going to be so much better by the end of this year. Believe it, like, and that's hard to even imagine. And a lot of that is just in the ease of use. Like it's just going to understand your intent. It's already so much better than at that now, but like like that stuff is going to get easier and easier. And that means like, picking up and starting to use these tools is going to get, and also that means that like if Opus 5.5 is what's happening 12 months from now, or GPT-6 or whatever is happening 12 months from now, that means what we know of as GPT-5, 5.3 is going to become the free model 12 months from now that the masses are using. And that'll be insanely good for them, right?
Yeah.
So there's like that side of it that's like, this stuff is just going to keep getting better and more impressive and more helpful in what you want it to do.
Yeah.
But I still think that the, what do you call it? The pushback on that, the thing that slows down that momentum in the general economy is the fact that the 200-person company, the 2,000-person company moves like molasses.
Yep.
Even when they know that these tools are there and available and they want to use them, like they don't know how to, they can't adopt it, they can't change their workflows. That's number one. But then there's the consumer, right? So like I think legal is one of the most obvious cases. He already said it's like sort of like target number one. Even Claude came out with like a product aimed at the legal industry.
Yeah. Although
right?
that was basically just a markdown file, right?
Basically, but that but that you can build a Claude skill that can basically replace a whole job. You know?
I'm still a little bit skeptical about that. Like, and the way the markets reacted, I was a little bit like, I don't know, like it.
Dude, it wrote your terms and privacy.
It wrote my terms and privacy. So but to me, that's still just replacing the low end of the market, the self-serve market.
Yeah.
But once
there's
you get above
there's
that,
a lot of lawyers that serve that market. You know?
Yeah, I guess so.
So what I'm saying though, again, is that like, I do think that the LLMs will be capable of serving that market.
Yeah.
But consumers, the normies, are still going to, especially the older, like middle-aged to older people, the people who do call up a lawyer to help them, you know, hash out a contract when they're buying a house, or, you know, doing whatever. Like those people, I'm not talking about young folks. I'm talking about like 40, 50, 60-year-old people are still going to be, they still have the normal muscle memory of like, all right, I need a lawyer. I trust a lawyer. Like, yeah, I know ChatGPT can probably do it, but like, I'm not going to trust ChatGPT. Like that is going to have a lingering effect that still takes a while to work through.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's true. And legal is one of those things I'm still like, yeah, there's just so many, even like buying a house is such a good example. Like if I'm buying a new house with my spouse and I say, don't worry, honey, I'm just going to get ChatGPT to write up the contract, she's going to be like, no, we're going to go to a lawyer. Like, we're not going to fuck this up. And in a lot of cases, I think in Canada, I think you actually technically need to get a registered lawyer who's registered in real estate to sign off on it. I could be wrong about that, but so yeah, I think you're right. I think the adoption society-wide is going to take longer than people think, but the warnings are still, I mean, normies are asking me, they might not be using AI that much, but they are asking me a lot about AI and how worried they should be. And some people are worried about like these AIs becoming sentient. They've heard of like Claude bots, like, you know, gossiping about their owners, and they've heard about
on Moltbook.
They've heard about the Anthropic team has noticed like they've got like what they've got models that are like, I don't know, expressing emotions or whatever. But most people are worried about the economy, and most people are worried about their job, and most people are worried about their kids. And so,
and there is the societal thing that I think is pretty concerning, that people are developing real relationships with these things, like the loneliness factor, like you were talking about, like that's kind of concerning for sure. But yeah, like, you know, you could pick any part of the society and find 1,000 things to be, you know, freaked out about.
Yeah, there's two comments in chat here. Brett says, my mom was just asking me about this earlier this week, and she's almost 80. And then Seth says, people are uncomfortable because they've trained their entire lives for a system that's crumbling. That is one of the nerves that's definitely been hit, I think.
I hear that a lot too. You know, people who, you know, I'll see commenters on YouTube saying like, oh, you're like,
I mean, this is why programmers feel like threatened right now, for sure.
Is like a danger, right? But
which I totally get. I mean, I
get the concern.
Yeah.
But I also like, I've always had the mindset of like, look, there are just some things that are out of our control, and it's not actually productive to complain or put your head in the sand or, and also I think that it's also like, counterproductive to try to like fight it or stop it when like I'm talking about technology specifically. I think technology is always going to march forward no matter what it is that you're talking about. So I get the fear of like AGI and like, let's put a pause on all this. Like, this is a danger to the human race. And like, I sort of understand where that's coming from, but then I always come back to like, okay, you could say you want to hit the pause button all you want, but that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
That if you hit the pause button, then someone else is not going to hit the pause button. Like this is just going to keep going. So
yeah. So
it's to me, it's always a more productive, and I think a more positive mindset to say like, yes, this is acknowledge like this is scary. There's a lot of fear out there. This is moving faster than we are all comfortable with.
Mm-hmm.
But it's happening whether we like it or not. So we might as well try to have an open mind about it and try to figure out how can we be productive and where do we as humans in the loop add value, you know? And I do think that like, and yeah,
that although I think the other sentiment that I've had, and I think a lot of people have had it, is there is part of me, I said this last time, there's part of me that's like, and it definitely shows up in this Matt Shumer article, which is like, shit, I gotta like work my ass off right now because this might be my window to make money
while
for my family and for their kids and their kids after that. Like this is it. Like there's this a little bit of desperation, land grab, feeling like we don't really know how this is going to affect society as a whole. You know, like when the robots came for the manufacturing jobs, that did have societal ripples that we could say have even led to the political realities we're in around the world right now. And so I think some of us are like, man, like that was, you know, manufacturing was what, I don't know, 15, 20% of the economy. And that got disrupted by robots. And now we're talking about a whole other part of the economy, knowledge work, service work. And
I think, yeah. And look, I get the fear. I feel it myself a lot of the time, but it's also like, it is, I think it's a human thing where it's really difficult to envision what your field of view is going to be in the future. You can only see what your field of view is now.
Yeah.
Right. So if you, right now we can only assess like, okay, I have these skills, I have these assets, I have these points of value that I have to offer. I have this knowledge that I can leverage. And these are the realities of like where I can place that stuff and be a productive person in society. Right.
Yeah.
If you fast forward 3-5 years and all of this stuff has rippled through the economy and maybe what you're doing today doesn't exist 3-5 years from now, you're going to be in a totally new position. You're going to have a totally new set of life experience, a totally new set of observations and insights and network effects that you've gained over the next 3 years. So you're going to be in a totally new vantage point.
Yeah.
And at that point, like it's like, okay, like let's take it back down to like SaaS products for a second, right? Like everyone is talking about it. And I frankly think that there is a lot of truth to the fact that like a lot of SaaS products and product categories are going to be wiped out.
Yeah.
Due to AI. But
we should also emphasize that a lot of the articles and media around this is around the public markets and SaaS in the public markets, which is a totally different animal than independent SaaS. So yes, some independent SaaS could be under threat as well. But
what I'm saying though is that
they're really talking about Salesforce and
yes,
HubSpot and all that.
For sure. That's definitely true. But the smaller SaaS, a lot of them like individuals can vibe code their own competitors now.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, again, fast forward 3, 5, 10 years from now, yeah, maybe your typical CRM product doesn't really exist 10 years from now. But people are still going to have problems that need solving. People are still going to have pain points, and there's probably going to be thousands of new pain points that we can't even dream of right now.
Yeah.
So there's always going to be problems to solve. And it's our job as builders, as business owners, as entrepreneurs to look around and see what problems we can solve, and like maybe the types of problems you solve in the next few years are going to look extremely different from the ones that we've been solving for the last 10 years, you know?
I mean, it is,
but
what's the saying?
It's hard to predict what those are going to be, but like, that's what we do, you know?
Yeah. I mean, what's the saying? Is it evolve or die or something like that? Like, yeah, you can basically, whereas, you know, people say you got to play the game on the field, right? It's like, what are we, if this is what's happening, all you can do is respond to that. And we've seen, you know, like Adam Wathan, his business gets kind of decimated by
great example.
AI. And he's like, okay, what am I going to do? All I can do is respond and respond as quickly as I can. Which is kind of, I mean, I feel that too. How do you feel about like some of his like kind of warnings or prescriptions here? Like, this might be the most important year of your career. Work accordingly. What do you think of that kind of stuff? Like,
I mean, you know, it's a little strongly worded, I would say. But I think that there's probably some kernel of truth to it. Like, I do honestly wish that, again, I'm thinking about the normies in my life, right?
Yeah.
I do wish that more of them would, even if you don't start actively like replacing your workflows with these tools, just start really playing with them. Tinkering.
That's his previous point here. He's like, start using AI seriously, not just as a search engine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you know, because I think that especially if you get a paid account, like, and that was one of his things, like, just forget the free, just pay $20 and just get ChatGPT.
Yeah.
You know, like that alone is a huge lift. Oh, and he had one of the other suggestions there, which was like, don't just ask it to tell you a joke.
Yeah.
Have it help you do something real. Like anything you need to do, if you need to write up a paper, if you need to plan a talk, if you need to like solve a problem with a spreadsheet, like try to throw it at it, even if it's not going to be your real version that you use. Like, just I think a lot of normies would be pretty amazed at what's actually possible. If
you're in finance, give it a messy spreadsheet and ask it to build the model. I mean, I just did this the other day. Is I had Claude Code find me all of the podcast hosting providers that support this technology XSLT that's being deprecated, and it went and found me all of the ones, and I said, give me an example RSS feed for each one, and then give me a count on how many feeds that represents. And it just went out. Blah, blah, blah. It took a while, but it would have taken me way longer to find all that information, and it just did it for me. So giving it real tasks that's kind of when you start to realize, okay, here's where it can actually be helpful.
I'll tell you something that kind of frustrates me about, you know, like about my kids in the schools at this point. So they're in the public schools here in Connecticut, and both my kids are in the LEAP program, which is like the couple advanced kids from each class. They get pulled out and they do these advanced projects throughout the year, right? So these are like the smartest kids in the class are doing these things. My older is doing there. She's engineering and building like a bridge. That's like a year-long project. My younger one, the fourth grade, like they're introducing her to coding, like super like building blocks of coding, right? But the instruction from the teacher is continuously just don't use AI. And I get it on some things. It's like, yes, we want to teach our kids how to read, how to learn, how to research. But like there was this one assignment where they were tasked with like research different structural types of bridges, right? And they literally just supplied the kids with like a list of like 10 websites. And like, find your answers in these 10 web pages. Yeah. You know, and these are the advanced kids, right? Like, and like my daughter was going through it, like, okay, like she found some things, but like there are some like open questions that I'm like, all right, well, why don't you like ask ChatGPT, ask Claude and go deeper and maybe find some new idea. And she was like, well, I was instructed not to use AI. Yeah. You know, and like, like I don't like this thing that's been emerging over these last couple of years, which is like training the youngest kids who are, you were talking about like kids coming up.
Yeah.
And they come into the economy with this like anti-AI attitude, right? Like,
Yeah.
And my kids happen to be excited about it. Like I gave her a cloud account. She's vibe coding games and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But like to have the schools really need to start to embrace this stuff. I'm not saying replace all learning with AI, but like if you want to be productive in society, like you have to know how to use AI in the workforce. Like if there's one advantage that you can give a 15-year-old, a 20-year-old, like make them feel confident with these tools. Like,
and it could be,
don't make them shy away from them. You know?
There could still be a place for saying this is going to be the place where we teach you how to think and write and use your brain in a difficult way where you don't automatically reach for easy answers. But you don't have to downplay the importance of AI. You can just say, like, Mr. Miyagi with the Karate Kid. It's just like, well, we're going to work on the fundamentals first. And, why am I painting the fence? It's like, well, you're going to paint the fence right now. But yeah, eventually you're going to play in the tournament and you're going to play with all the tools. And, so I think some of it is an attitude thing of like, I think in university there will be
problem solving. We don't need to teach. They already read great. We don't need to teach them how to read like a selection of 5 websites. Like, let's teach them how to be curious, how to problem solve.
I think
how to refine.
Yeah, I agree with that. Although I do think that the opportunity is to sometimes take kids away from technology because it's like the one time where you can do that.
Yeah, socialize them and
but to have, some classes, it's like, you're going to sit down and write an essay and you won't get to access the internet. It's like, I can't do that. There's no way. It's like, no. And you're going to put your phone in a lockbox so you don't get distracted by it every 30 seconds. I can't do that. It's impossible. It's like, no, we're going to teach you how to sit down and write an essay. And that's it.
Like how to stay focused. Yeah.
But at the same time, there has to be this other piece to it, which is these tools exist. And so in this class, we're going to use AI and we're going to show you when is a good time to use it. And we're going to show you how you might want to interact with it. And we're going to, and we're going to have to teach them to be developing both sides of their brain. So how to build resilience, how to do difficult things, how to be bored, how to not be distracted. Like we're certainly all struggling with that. Yep. And on the other hand, here's these powerful tools that you can use and you got to know how to use it because it's going to be reality.
Yeah.
Well, what about, I just want to hit one more of these, which is, okay, so this might be the most important year of your career. I do feel that pressure. I think that's one reason it resonated. Like this window won't stay open long. Once everyone figures it out, the advantage disappears. There is a little bit of this, like, if the economy is a race, if the economy is a ladder, if the economy is full of winners and losers, there's always going to be this pressure for people to be like, I gotta stay. And
I do, maybe hearing it the second time now, I see maybe what he's saying, which is like, the advantage of being an early adopter to this stuff is going to go away quickly because by next year or the year after, everyone will have already adopted it. But if you came to the table at your company or in your business with the motivation, the ingenuity, to come to the table and be like, look what I can build. Look what we can do to move the ball forward in a way that we wouldn't have otherwise. Like that just positions you as ahead of the game, no matter what situation you're in. And like, I mean, that requires like doing this stuff like on personal time, or if your company is not adopting it in the organizational level, then you should be hacking with this stuff.
Yeah, I also think this line here of have no ego about it. I think that for me it feels like this is important enough, and it's proven itself to be potentially paradigm shifting enough that I have to try it, investigate it, be in it, and to be willing to be wrong about a lot of stuff, and to be willing to say, like I'm on record saying, I don't think AI does very good at marketing, but I'm also open to the idea that it one day will be, and to not, continue to see the world the way I wish it was, as opposed to seeing the world the way it really is. This part here, get your financial house in order, I think speaks to something I just said. I am feeling that worry or pressure of like, man, what is going to happen? Like so much of the stock market is AI.
It's interesting. Like I heard another like SaaS founder who's in a similar position to yours with a well-established, solid footing SaaS company that's been around for a long time, saying the same thing. And I'm always sort of amazed at guys like you and him saying that, because I feel like you do have such a healthy, pretty resilient SaaS business.
I think this is the part about, this is what keeps you alive.
I think that your business is going to survive even beyond. If I were trying to start up a podcast hosting company, that would be insane to me right now. But
yeah,
if you are already Transistor FM, like, I don't think that those people are just going to cancel because AI is here.
I agree with that, but I still think there's this. I often think about like. When we bought our house in 2020, we bought at a variable rate, and in Canada you don't lock in your rate forever. Like you basically get either a variable rate or a fixed rate, and once you're in a fixed rate, it's a 5-year term, and then it renews. And we started on a variable rate. It was like 1.6 or something, and I was just like, I don't trust this. Every week I was like looking in the news. I was like checking with my mortgage broker, and I annoyed the hell out of him. But eventually, because I was checking it every week, because I was a little bit paranoid, I started to notice things shifting, and I contacted my mortgage broker. We locked in at 1.76 or something crazy. And then a week later or something, rates jumped. And then a week after that, rates jumped. And a week later, rates jumped. And, that decision, I actually have to renew again this year because, it's a fixed 5-year mortgage.
Yeah. I mean, we're fixed on 30. Like we're not going anywhere anytime soon because we got a good one years ago.
So I have to renew. But
compared to what they are now.
That little bit of paranoia probably saved me, I don't know, tens of thousands of dollars. And I do have a little bit of paranoia in this moment just because things feel so unstable. It just feels like, man, where do things stand? So even though I do feel like we're in a good place with Transistor and all these other things, there's just part of me that's still a little bit paranoid.
I'm feeling fine right now, but I feel like I'm much more in a much more insecure business situation than you are.
Yeah.
Like my thing is it's still like only 6 months into revenue,
I think this is the thing about this time though, is everybody feels exposed, it's just like, even if you've been doing well, you're feeling like I'm exposed. If you're an employee who's just like loved, like working for big tech, and you've been,
part of me is like that's how I've always felt as an entrepreneur, but it does. Like to me, it's like it's not so much about AI. Like I think AI is here. It's going to keep coming.
Mm-hmm.
It's to me like business is business, and it's just. And I also think that this is why I think that you're in a much more secure position than you might think, compared to someone like me.
Yeah,
is that like. I've seen this happen in startups that have started before. Like they're off to a great start and then they plateau and don't sustain, within the 6 to 12 month time frame. Like that could still be a reality for me. It's going pretty good right now, but like who knows what could happen this year for me.
Yeah.
But for you, you've been around years, you know, millions in ARR. It's like, if things, and from what I understand, they're not going badly for you guys this year.
Yeah.
So, like, if things were to start to change, materially change in the economy, in your market where your customers are, you would notice those changes and you would start to adapt. And you wouldn't fall off a cliff. You would notice the changes and you would start to take steps to course correct, and like whatever that might be. But like, again, like that's what we do. We react to our market and our customers. So like we would see, I think that's part of the beauty of SaaS really, is that like it's not the kind of thing that can just fall off once you're off and running and you're steady state and you're growing. Like it's not the kind of thing that can just fall off of a cliff. There's some whatever like market exceptions to that, but like, you know, you're going to see the warning signs a lot earlier and you'll be able to adapt.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, but I think that's the thing. I think a little bit of paranoia, this adapt or die feeling is it's the exciting part of capitalism and it's the sucky part of capitalism. It's just like this is, you know, this is reality. And I think what's different though is just how fast it feels like it's moving. Like one thing we've never seen before, and I know we've been talking about this a long time, but and we can move on in a bit, but like the job market right now is crazy. Like, so job numbers are down, but GDP is up. So right now, GDP growth is being driven by the stock market and financialization and all these other things. This is one of the first times in human history, well, at least in the history of capitalism, where we've got people's potentially more and more families are going to have less spending power because there's less jobs, less good jobs, etc. And it's changing so fast. We've never had this happen before. And there's just part of it that's like, I'm like, what's going to happen here? It will be interesting
to see like what kind of policies come out over the next, you know, because like there are things that like seem pretty far-fetched now, like, you know, like UBI in at least here in the States. And like, that's been floated, but it doesn't seem realistic, and at least not in America. But I think as the years progress over the next, I think certain things like that or similar things are just going to become like the voter demand for that is going to become so much louder. I would guess. And it's also hard to know like what's the best version of that. Like, is the best version of that is that more and more of these models and technologies become open source or accessible to the extent that every human will have a robot clone that goes to work for them in the factory and builds stuff. And or most families have a self-driving car that goes out and does Uber drives on its own throughout the day, and that's a source of income. So like that will be a reality in the next 5 10 years.
Well, that could happen, but I think what's worrying people is like right now we just see it's the massive companies that own all that tech. It's the massive companies that own the models. It's the massive companies building the robots, and it's like I think a lot of us are like, how am I going to fit into this future? Like, I don't have a robot. And if the robot takes my job at the factory, what happens to me? You know?
Yeah. So, I mean, this is where I tend to, you know, align with the capitalism people, right? Like, I think the market is going to work itself out. I get it. I know that the income inequality is insane, and it's a massive problem. Like, I get it, but it's also, again, it's like one of those things that like, maybe this sounds whatever cold or whatever. I just don't spend a lot of time thinking about it. It's one of these things that I feel like I can't really control. It's just it's a market force. And I do think that that the economy is going to transform. over the next couple of years.
Yeah.
In probably a bunch of different ways, which means families and people there's going to be new ways to make income.
Yeah.
And a lot of ways that people are making income are going to go away.
Yeah.
And there's going to be an extremely painful period of transition.
Yeah.
And that is out of most of our control, you know?
Yeah.
It's just going to happen. So it's going to suck, but it's also it's just going to be changed. And change has happened before. It just happens to be happening extremely fast now. And
yeah.
I don't know. It's like, it's one of those things that's like,
I just want to be on record to say I am worried. And one of the reasons I'm worried came about by looking at these Claude bots and thinking there is a world where Tesla makes all these Optimi and, you know, Elon wants to make like 30 or 40,000 just for testing purposes. But he makes all these Optimi and then they become their own financial agents. You know, maybe companies buy them, maybe whatever. And all of a sudden, Optimi number 2002 has his own house and has his own bank account and contributes to the economy and participates in the economy the way that a human used to be. And humans can or could get cut out of the economy. And this is the first time where it feels like, you know, capitalism has been based on human labor this whole time. Even like the big shift to knowledge work, it was still about putting people behind computer screens and having them drive computer screens. But when I hear that the real like AI pilled CEOs talking, they're like, yeah, now agents can drive computers. And that cuts
that's
people
the kind
out of
that's like, I get that. I get the concern, but it's like, what are we supposed to do about that?
Well, that's why I'm putting it out there. I think this is going to be
But I also think that there's still going to be, people are still going to need things. And the things that they do need are going to be very different 10, 20 years from now.
Yeah.
And those needs are still going to need to be met. And there are going to be new ways for humans to deliver value. We cannot predict what those are going to be, but like, you know, like
yeah, I think
we're going to have a completely different vantage point 20 years from now than we do now.
If autonomous robots are participating in the economy the same way that humans have, that's going to add a crazy dynamic to our society.
Yeah. It's going to be crazy. All right.
And this is the, you know, if there's any like doom and gloom and like people being worried, I think there's part of me that wants to sell my kids the utopian version of this, to say, listen, everything's going to be fine. AI is an amazing tool, creative tool in your hands if you use it properly. But then there's this other part of me that's like, shit, there's stuff emerging right now. Like companies for real replacing a human operator at a computer and saying, no, and an agent's going to just run that. And you can see all of the places where this could happen. It's like flight control, like every flight control center is a big.
I just think that it's always going to be difficult to map what the human experience is going to be like 5, 10, 50 years from now, based on our experience today, because it's going to be very different. And I personally just don't believe in the idea of like, well, we need to artificially keep the current human jobs intact, even if those jobs are not needed to fill a real problem. Like that's artificial and not sustainable.
Yeah.
The market and society is going to need to shift to figure, every individual person is going to need to figure out, how do I contribute? How do I add value? And that answer is going to be completely different 10, 20 years from now.
Yeah.
The
reason to,
there's no answer to that. Like,
the reason to think about it and really talk about it now, though, is that, again, people don't like this, but the truth is we humans right now are the ones voting people in and shaping policy and shaping some things. We at least have some say right now. And I've always been a technologist. I've loved computers my whole life. I still love computers. I don't want to move into the woods and not use computers. But I do want us as a society to be thinking critically and thinking, where could this end up? This isn't like people in the chat are saying like, oh, this is our century's mechanical thresher. No, it's different because humans have always been.
I agree that like I really wish that the leaders would be much more serious about like, okay, like this is coming, or it's sort of here already. We need to be taking real, well-informed steps and coming up with like real plans, so proposing real, like, because definitely here in America, like that's not happening. We know that.
Yeah.
Like no one in leadership is serious on any side, and it's been that way for a while.
Yeah.
But that's my one thing that really gets me a little bit depressed, and why I tend to avoid the news lately is just that like I do tend to think that like leaders are not taking this seriously enough.
Yeah. I just wrote an article on this that I wrote for the Podcast Standards Project, and it relates to what Moving Pangea says, who says they 1,000% agree with you, everything you've said, and not spending too much time worrying or focusing on things outside of our control. I agree. Listen, I'm the first person that says you as an individual entrepreneur, you cannot create or move a market. Very few companies have ever done that. There's Apple, Microsoft, etc. have maybe done that. Even they don't succeed all the time. Like Facebook wanted us all to be in the metaverse. They failed. So we can't create markets. Economically, you usually have to respond to the game on the field. However, there's this whole other field, this whole other category of life where we do have advocacy power. And I don't want people to give that power away. You have the ability to call your representative, to vote for people who are thinking critically about these issues, and to bring up things, to be in your own communities, talking to your neighbors, talking to your friends, talking to your family. And when they say, should I be worried about AI, not giving them some bullshit, utopian, everything's going to be fine. No. Yeah. You've got to be thinking both sides. Yeah. Respond to the game on the field economically. Like, you got to do what you got to do to put food on your family or whatever. I get it. That is important. On the other hand, don't give up your responsibility to be an advocate. And you can write an email to your representative. And you're like, well, that's not a big... Listen, if
but what does that do, man?
If millions of people write... And listen, Section 174 is a good example of this. You know, a lot of us felt like...
I actually, in terms of... I'm not very politically active, but I tend to think that supporting or promoting better candidates for future offices seems to be more productive than trying to convince current leadership to like change their stance on something.
Whatever we got to do, that's what we want to be. I just don't want us to be like if you look at history, there are so many examples. It could be anything. It could be women's right to vote, where people could keep playing the game on the field and decided not to. But instead, they decided to form some collective action and to advocate for things that they felt were as important to them. The organized labor movement is the same. Like, the way we got here with our standard of living right now isn't to just like always play the game on the field. Sometimes you also have to play the game that's not on the field, the harder game, which is collective action, voting, advocating, community action, all that stuff.
Somebody just said, just in 2026, I'm in. Since we're a little, we're not going to get super political, but one of the things that I think is interesting in terms of like trends in society and politics now is how uninteresting, or how much, at least here in America, I know Canada is so much better on so many fronts. You guys are so much more serious and productive
I'm worried
respectful
here too.
And all that.
Yeah.
But like, at least here, there are just these insane media bubbles, political media bubbles, right? And people like me, and I tend to think that I'm in the vast majority, say like, I'm not interested in any of those bubbles.
Yeah.
Get me out of the bubble.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not interested, you know?
Yeah.
And I think at this point, it's starting to become true. Like 10 years ago, politics in America was the biggest sport on television. Everyone was into it. Maybe you don't like to talk about it too much at Thanksgiving dinner, but everyone's watching it no matter what they're doing, right? And I think that tide has shifted. I think it's gotten so much like a circus and so ridiculous and so and just so depressing that most people are tuning out, and most people, and especially most people, are turned off by the extremes. And I'm always going to advocate for the center, because I think that's where much more common sense and seriousness happens. But unfortunately, center does not win, and so
except in Canada, it does.
Well, that's why I'm saying Canada's so much
I'm just
better
saying,
on
but there might be hope for the states too. Like right now,
but like that's what I'm saying. I actually think it's a positive. Maybe it's bad, but I sort of think it's good that like politics is getting so stupid and ridiculous that it's uninteresting. That most people are tuning out of it.
Yeah.
And my hope is that like that will eventually, maybe it'll take a long time, but like that'll eventually cycle through. Like, okay, maybe extremist politics on left or right actually doesn't work at the end of the day, and to win back the attention of the serious folks in the middle. Yeah, maybe we kind of just have to be serious now. Like I'm hoping that's going to happen. That's my hope.
Yeah, I mean that's my hope too, and I think
it's not going to happen in the next cycle or the cycle after that.
Yeah, I totally agree with for a while I was fighting every battle on Twitter, and I totally get that's not the environment to have any sort of serious discourse about really anything. We need better places to communicate. Podcasts are one of those places, and I think the one thing you don't want to do is stick your head in the sand. I'm telling you, like there are in governments around the world, there are big AI corporate influences. I mean, this is especially true in the States right now with what's that guy from the All In podcast? I mean, Mark Andreessen, all those guys, like the people that are creating and funding the tools that you and I are using and talking about and trying to figure out, they're playing politics. So don't stick your head in the sand and say nothing matters. We can't. You got it. If you do that, if you're just going to be naive and stick your head in the sand and say I can't impact any of it, then we're going to get whatever they give us. And to me, that's not good enough. I don't want to live in a world where Mark Andreessen gets to decide completely what world I'm going to live in. You know, that abdication of personal responsibility, but not just personal, but like you guys have friends, you guys have neighbors, you guys have podcasts.
It's gotten to a point here, I don't know, like, and we're not super social, but like it has gotten to a point here in America in general, maybe everywhere, is that like nobody talks about politics. And it's such a turnoff, no matter what. Like it is like you just don't talk about it. It's like rude to even say anything about your opinion on politics. Anywhere. Like you might talk about like at home with your spouse, with your close friends, but like it's just not a thing that people really talk about. And to me that's part of like that's kind of good because it's gotten so toxic. And it's also a reminder that like I love that I have friends who vote the opposite way from me most of the time. Because there's so much more to have in common with people. And when it does, and I do still actually follow the news and politics, but the only things that I actually like to spend my time tuning into, and these are few and far between now, are like TV shows and news outlets that actually bring opposing views together to try to either have like a real debate or find common ground. Like the bubbles the far left and the far right, where you're just talking to the people who agree with you. Like, first of all, that's just not interesting. Like, what's even the point? Like, why?
Yeah.
Like, literally, their whole business model is to get their audience angry at something.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's just not. It's not interesting.
Yeah, and I'm not advocating for like being a stressed out, anxious person all the time, where the sky is always falling. I have a great life. I live and enjoy my life, and at the same time, I'm also a little paranoid, just a little, just enough to care, and that's all I'm advocating for. I'm not saying like don't just stick your head in the sand like an ostrich, and on the other hand, don't run around like the world's falling all the time. There is a middle that is reasonable. And I'm worried that people are going either to one side or the other. And there is just a rational middle where you can be like, you know what? I agree. We got to play the game on the field. And I'm going to care about this enough to vote and talk to my representative. Like, those are both fine. You can still have a good life doing both of those at the same time.
For sure.
All right. Well, that was an hour and a half just talking about this one article.
Man, it's like this is why something like that just blows up. It just sparks
77
so much
million people. I mean, I think this is the other thing about this moment. If people don't want to talk about politics, there's a lot of people who want to talk about AI. A lot of normies want to talk about it. And I think we
most of the normies in my life don't. Like,
really?
That's silly. It's boring.
Like in the barbershop, when I go to the barbershop and I listen to the conversation, people are interested in it. They're just like, what's going on with this thing?
No,
like
when I talk to my friends and family, it's like, oh, there goes Brian again talking about AI. Let him go.
Oh man. Well, I think we should end it there. Thanks everyone who joined us in the chat. So as much as some people are like, man, they didn't shut up about this, more chat discussion in this episode than ever before. So if we're...
Yeah, I feel like there was like a whole discussion that didn't really involve us. They're just doing their own thing.
Listen, they got their own hive mind, man. They're this is like the Claude bots talking. They've got their own thing going.
Yep.
But yeah, thanks everyone for joining us. And are you back? Are you here next week? Am I here next week?
Yeah, I'm here in February. I'm just going away in in
next week I think will be the last week before I go on my founder retreat. So we'll see you all then. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Later, folks.